Hello everybody, welcome back. So this is a precursor video and quite an extensive overview of some of the best smooth cams out there. This will mostly be just theory and me showing you some cool stuff and maybe broaden your view on camera motion and all of the possibilities in the camera world. I'll be doing a wide brush here, otherwise this could take weeks, even years to go through all the references, but this is just a collection of few that I think are gonna take us on a nice little journey, a nice little arc on camera motion. I'll show you my process on how I analyze footage here, and then I invite you to do the same and really see how deep the rabbit hole goes. So buckle up because this is going to be a long video. The theme of the day is analyze it, articulate it, and then use it in your own project. It's not stealing, except maybe just a bit. All right, everybody, so we are in Premiere here, where we're going to be analyzing our footage. We're going to be going through some anime, some very cool stuff here. Attack on Titan, this one is mind-blowing. And then some other movies and animated films that were kind of inspired or had very similar camera motion than anime, because I think anime is becoming more and more increasingly popular to imitate, especially in, animated features like this one, or even, live action films. Because what they do with anime is I think they innovate so much in terms of how they move the camera and how they emphasize the emotions on the characters. Let's just quickly see this shot. So this guy is not that big, but to illustrate his power and his authority that he has, they just went all out and really overpowered him with this scale and size. You see, like, this camera and the way he moved, obviously everything that I'm talking about ties into the animation, the direction, and then the camera movement and the whole blocking and everything. So it's very difficult to dissect everything, but you can see, like, he moves very slowly here to emphasize that he's very big, and the camera kind of pans with him as well. And now he's a normal scale. And yeah, we're gonna be just going through a lot of different scenes, a lot of different movies, and like I said, this might be a long video. So before we get to analyzing the footage, quick thing to just get through all the terminology for cameras. This is from Studio Binder. They did a very cool video just essentially showcasing all the different camera movements. So, you have the static shot, the pan. So all of these are quite obvious. I'm just going to quickly go through them. The whip pan from Whiplash. We have the tilt, which, tilts the camera up or down. Very exciting. Push in, camera just pushes in on a dolly or on a slider. Pull out, same thing, but as the push in but reversed. Zoom, zoom in, zoom out. Everybody knows how it's done. Crash zoom, this is usually done for comedic purposes, like that. Dolly zoom is where the camera is moving backwards or forward, but you're zooming in or out. And this would usually indicate that something is happening psychologically with the character. Like in this case, you see, like, he essentially woke up, and because he was so shaken that he woke up and his perspective completely changed on his face and on his surroundings. So that's kind of the thinking behind there. The camera roll, you just roll the camera. Tracking shot, where usually on a static cam or sliders, like gliders and gimbals. Trucking, yeah, I never use truck. This is dolly right. Like, nobody uses truck. Arcing, this is rarely used. You can see, like, it's quite stylized. Something like Avengers or Michael Bay comes to mind when you do the arcing shot. It's very stylized and overused, and it can be overused quite a lot. If you use it for a scene like that, it's usually because, let's say in this case, you have three people and they're discussing something, and you want to emphasize the that the discussion is in motion, right? So if the discussion is in motion and maybe they don't agree with each other, then you would kind of track around them to emphasize. You see, like his perspective is kind of overlapping with his perspective in terms of what they're talking about. So that's when this is kind of useful, when you want to portray that kind of an emotion. Boom, camera goes up and down. So this would also be, so yeah, this is a boom shot, right? But it's also a tracking shot because we're tracking our character and we're also arcing. Well, we're also rolling and then also tilting up and then pushing in. So you see, like that shot, it's a great example of using a lot of different kind of, where is it? Lost it. This is using so many different camera movements that's why I just want to go quickly through this video before we go into all of our videos, because just so you guys know what I'm talking about. And sometimes I even mistake like different movements and I call them different things. Random movement. Yeah, so random movements, this might be done for documentary work or anything that kind, or, you know, like push-ins like that. So push-ins and zooming in at the same time is done a lot of times to emphasize the comedic moment in the scene. And that's it. I don't know what this last part is. Camera movement exercise. Yeah, I mean, Star Wars has amazing. See, this is a tracking shot, push in, kind of static with camera motion, with camera shake. Again, like a tracking shot, zooming, pushing in. Yeah, so yeah, you know what I mean. Good stuff. I love this video. I would encourage you guys to check it out in its full length. And Studio Binder also has a lot of other videos on camera lenses and cinematography and so on. So it's a very good resource. So let's go to our examples here. So like I said before, we have this guy coming in, and Kill la Kill has, this is just episode 1. Like, I don't want to spoil everything, but just check this out. See how they play with emotion and how they emphasize the scale of the characters and their strength and how fast everything is moving. So the camera did everything, and then it stopped into a static shot because we want to emphasize the abrupt ending to the shot. But here, the camera did everything. You know, we were freaking pushing backwards on a impossible dolly and then panning with our character, pushing in, panning down, letting him overshoot, so the camera is overshooting quite a lot, rolling, everything, and then stopping. And they really emphasize the emotion all the time in anime, especially, let me show you this particular part. They also do speed lines to make it look even faster. And then you have this amazing titled kind of sequence happening here. And then with the Zolly, obviously they're really pushing it. See, so they're sliding to the left here on a telephoto zoom, and they're creating a lot of parallax with these kind of smoke elements that are static, and they're not moving. It's not because they were like, oh, let's just draw some smoke, it doesn't have to move. Like Kill la Kill is playing quite a lot with different kinds of animation, and they are doing this intentionally. Is essentially they're freezing this moment. They're freezing the moment when these two are talking. And the camera is zoomed in quite a lot on the telephoto because we want to feel like they're very close. It's essentially they're in a bubble together. Again, using just all the motion, all the movements of the camera. And I would encourage you guys, after after we checked the Studio Binder video, like to find these clips and just check out all the clips that I'm referencing here and go through them and analyze them on your own and really see what they're doing here, and then try to use that on your own project. Attack on Titan, my man, this is the best sequence ever that is gonna be happening here. So this is like a pushing back shot while tracking with the character, and you can see how much they are really emphasizing the perspective here, and they're changing. Like, you really have to go frame by frame here, and you can see the camera is animated on ones, which means that the camera is moving every frame. The characters are animated on twos, which is, you can see they move not all the time, sometimes they're on ones as well, but in this case the character is on twos. Look at that. How dynamic is this shot? Like, obviously you have to see it in motion, but you can see the swing. Like, the camera is so wide and then he swings towards us, and this comes down to blocking, of course. And after the swing, we kind of pan with him and zoom in to his face. And in anime, you're gonna see they are zooming into their face quite a lot, like going quite close to the face. Like that, you see that? So we start close. The camera is, we're going with him, right? Everything is going with Levi here, and then the camera kind of pushes into his face, comes to a stop, and then he would distance himself again. And I don't know how to call this shot. This is so good. Whoever did this, god damn, it's beautiful. I don't know how to go through this, and then it just stops, and this is me. See this face? That's me when I saw this shot. I don't know what else to say about it, except, yeah, just watch it on your own and kind of try to analyze it. You really have to go frame by frame on this one to see that coming close to the camera again, kind of showcasing the emotion, and then letting him go, like, and you can see here, it's very interesting. Like, you want the camera to kind of push in past your subject, also creating this very, very cool dynamic framing. So this is here, all of this. He is essentially just obscuring the frame. So we get to this bullseye, and we are again creating this, we are creating this triangle here. And we're gonna go through this quite a lot. Let me just quickly storm past. But this is essentially what I was creating here with this airplane. Kind of, I know, it's not even comparable. But, you know, you see I push in. I have the airplane coming in to the frame, kind of dynamically. I let it go up a bit, overshoot it. So I left some space here, having him on the top of the frame here. And then I correct the camera, push in, kind of sneak into with the airplane, having him here. I'm using him to obscure the frame like they did with Attack on Titan, to create this triangle composition to our bullseye here. So those are all that's what I'm trying to say, that even when you watch anime and you see this Attack on Titan scene and you're like, how the hell am I supposed to use this? This is impossible. This is a cartoon and I cannot use any of this. Well, guess what? You see this? All of this we were using in Heroes of the Storm when we did this section. You see, like, she is coming, using the face quite close, and then she rushes past the frame. We rotate and see how close we get to her, and then she jumps back. We let her go backwards. It's quite important. You need to spring load it. So imagine doing shooting with a bow. You need to load the bow and then release it, or having something loading on a spring and then release it again. All of these things are quite important, and that's all of that we were using here. These are techniques that are kind of became popular with anime because they're really pushing this medium, and that's how I'm then trying to, you know, analyze all of this and use it in my own projects. Matrix, amazing stuff. Look at that. Maybe this is gonna look familiar. See that zoom in and then zoom out? That's very similar to what we had here, right? Now, I'm not saying they saw this, and I'm not sure if, I'm pretty sure Kill la Kill didn't come. I'm not sure when Kill la Kill came out, but it's very similar, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, they're using these techniques in movies, and this also looks like it's a very dynamic shot for a bunch of reasons as well. Like, they're coming close to objects to create parallax, right? Parallax is always good. You want different planes of depth. So you have the background, the midground, and then all of this is the foreground in this case. And we're trying to look here. And again, this would create like I think most compositions go on this triangle kind of composition. Very dynamic with the smoke rushing past us. And then Neo is essentially an anime character at this point. You know, with the fight where he fights multiple Agent Smiths. That's essentially an anime fight. And then we have the Lego movie again. I think the Lego movie, they also said, let's just make all the cool camera moves and like that one, and just make it look as cool as possible. And they definitely achieved that. Again, amazing work. You see, again, emphasizing the emotion. So she's building stuff very fast, making things super dynamic, and then everything comes to a halt, to a complete static shot. And then he's super impressed, also in a static shot. And then we go to a ride with them, and transforming from a medium shot like this to a close-up and then back to a medium shot while reversing. Like, this is crazy stuff. And this is as crazy as what they do in anime, and I love it. And again, you can do more of these things in an animated movie, or if you have a high budget and you can do CG characters like this. But that's why we're going through these examples here, just so you can see what's the high bar here? What's the highest bar of kind of camera motion and cinematography? Because they're really pushing it. Here they kind of slow down the time and they're still talking, which is what they do in anime all the time. The camera doesn't have a lot of motion because, you know, we are trying to focus on them. And I really like the shot when he goes into a house. And, you know, he goes through this. Essentially, he becomes a miniature and then he goes out of the house. And he's bigger than the house. So good. Amazing. You know, tracking shots, like sticking with the character here. And then the character comes close. Yeah, this is so good. Like, I don't know what I would call this, but it just feels right for this particular moment and this impact. Again, creating parallax with, you know, just objects, having objects close to the frame. So background, midground, foreground. That comes down obviously to composition. Scott Pilgrim, also inspired by anime. I mean, I don't want to say anything. Like, I don't know my history with Scott Pilgrim that much. I love the movie. I didn't read the comics. I'm sorry. But you can see how stylized and anime like this is. Almost like comic book like. And they go to anamorphic. Yes. I mean, it's not anamorphic. It's just, you know, they're just doing the... And then they go from the bars straight without the bars, and see, again, something from anime. They go to extreme. They also have speed lines here, as you can see. They go to extreme contrasts, and that is just to emphasize how strong the punch was. Some little whiplashing, whip panning, sliding to the right because they're gonna do battle, and this is kind of the camera motion you want to do when you have two people confronting each other, because it just gives you that feeling of you know, competition. And again, he's being framed between his legs, that almost like that he's being overpowered. Valorant, also kind of taking the inspiration from anime with speed lines. If you remember, like that scene from Levi was kind of in the corridor as well. This is very cool. When they start running, you can see like we are close on his face, and then we zoom out. Zoom out so we can see his crash. Very cool use of depth again with the fruit. Very distorted composition here happening. Very wide angle lens, but also maybe distorting the character. That's what we were doing a bit on with the Heroes of the Storm titles, like they were doing them in Kill la Kill. Now, I'm not saying anybody is taking anything. Well, I'm not saying they're specifically referencing each other. I'm just giving you two comparisons. But this is so good. You can see she's coming close to the frame and backing off. Just keeping it very dynamic. I know dynamic is going to be a word here that will keep on, it's going to be repeating itself. But here again, coming close to the frame, punching back, close to the frame, punching back. Like I was saying, that springness, making it quite fluid. Spider-Verse, man, this one was crazy. Blew my mind. They were doing everything again and upping the level of cinematography with the wide lenses and compositions, colors, everything, and tying everything together so perfectly, like pushing it really hard. See how close he comes to the frame here on a wide lens, and then doing the obviously they were borrowing a lot from comic books and again from anime, obviously, but this is so cool. Like oh my god, look at that, look at this frame, it's crazy. And then you can see some of the kind of the layout happening. I think this video is from Wired. We're going to be linking it down below if you want to check it. Again, beautiful. If you want to showcase how, like, a comparison between two characters, this is the way you want to do it. So he's teaching him how to swing, and you have a nice little comparison. Like, they're straight on, we're shooting them straight on, and then backing and panning or sliding with them to the right, so we can directly see them as a comparison, right? Because that's the whole point of the shot. again, coming close to the camera and then springing back. You see that? They were actually on a spring here, and this is it. This is what I'm trying to convey, and they actually did it here, metaphorically and practically as well. Love it. Pushing in to reveal a character. Obviously, it has to time perfectly with the animation as well. And guess what? They had an anime character in it. So don't tell me they didn't take reference from animes. They had an anime 2D character in it. So I'm pretty sure they had a lot of references. Again, so cool. There's so many things happening in Spider-Verse. I think it would deserve its own kind of video and deconstruction, to be honest. And this could take a couple of days, as you know, it took them multiple years to do this movie. God of War, also not borrowing. Just make it a bit quieter. There's a lot of good things happening here that I will discuss in the next video, where we actually do practical cameras. But they're also they're zooming out, doing small things like zooming out and then zooming back in, changing the focal length, quite important. Following, tracking with the character, and then coming back with him on ground level to see his expression. This camera probably took quite a lot of work to get right. I love this moment happening here when they go in slow motion. It's kind of like what I did here with so these cameras were quite heavily inspired by God of War that I did for the Rookies contest. And you can see this shot was, had that slow motion element to it. And yeah, we're gonna go through in the next video, like just how to create these kind of cameras. Okay, where were we? God of War. Yeah, we still have quite a few references to go through, but again, this one also feels very anime-like. Punch, zoom in before he enters the screen. See that? And it looks like we have a mountain popping in the background. Look at it. I didn't notice that before. Poor mountain. He's like, I want to be in the shot as well. So zoom in and then zoom out. Whoop. You see that? Saw that zoom in? So zoom and zoom. So zoom out in this case. Zoom out and then zoom in. It's just going to make it feel much more impactful. So if we take a look at how I kind of took that. Saw that? Zoom out and then start zooming in. So here we were on a very wide camera lens, I think like a 25. Start zooming in, we end on a 55 or something like that. Very important. Again, that spring loadness that's happening. Lawbreakers, I don't have anything specific except they are using, it's a very fun cinematic. So we are pushing back, revealing the character. In Lawbreakers, I think they're using all the kind of the cool stuff. Again, like as if somebody said, let's just make this look as cool as possible. And they're doing zoom ins. They're doing, yeah, you see the crash zooms. They're doing quite a lot of them like that again. So there's 4. They're doing the spin, Michael Bay signature move. Zoom out. And these are all crash kind of zooms here that are happening. coming very close to the screen. Where is it? Oh my god, what have I done? Coming very close to the screen with her hand. Like that, super dynamic, makes it feel like anime-like. This ending here was kind of meh, but it still looks cool. But compared to this shot, the second one feels a bit bland. Having stuff come into frame is always quite dynamic and fun. So comes into frame, zooms out, and then he jumps out of the frame. See, that's what I'm saying. Like this cinematic has everything. It's like packed with all the good stuff. Incredibles, awesome sequence that connects her looking at the train as the main objective all the time, and it just does a wonderful, see, even with the eyesights, obviously we know where the train is, but just the way she's looking and that she's framed here and looking to the left. And I think this scene does a very good job in with presenting us where the character is in space and where the train is in the 3D space. So it kind of connects the geography very well, and we always know where our objective is. Plus they're doing all sorts of tricks, like letting her come into frame and swoosh past us is gonna make her feel faster than the camera, because she actually is. So all sorts of things like that. There's this really cool sequence where she jumps here. Man, they're so good. Like speeding up. So we go from a POV shot to her zooming past us, like the camera pans down, or tilts down. Like I said, I say pan up, down, left, right. And then pans back up while she's passing us, and again we see the train here perfectly. That was the point, like to reveal where the train is versus where she is, because she needs to catch the train. And I'm not even gonna comment on this. Like, this is so cool. Like passing us, going past us, and then coming back into frame. Those are all the things that are gonna make everything feel 5 times more dynamic. And they keep doing it here all the time. You see, past the frame, comes into frame. All the good stuff. Piper, I chose this one to emphasize, to see like how they use the depth of field here. They are trying to... So with depth of field, you can focus in on characters and just try to make it feel like this is a story, a very focused story that we don't need to know about any other surroundings. So they're using this depth of field here very, not just because it looks pretty, which is what we sometimes do. You know, we just crank the aperture to 1.4 and make everything blurry, and we think we're, you know, very cool. But in this case, they're using it as a story, kind of to progress the story. Very cool shot where they go super wide, where Piper kind of gets blown away by this wave. And they really wanted to just showcase how big this wave is compared to him, and going so wide and doing this push in that is so drastic makes this feel even more amplified. And then I love this part where they are exaggerating again. So he sees the water and they're doing the same kind of shot again, but he's just so afraid. And in the static shot, then you showcase that, you know, he was just imagining this. So the static shot is there for a reason. StarCraft is also playing with zoom ins and zoom outs. See that? That slide zoom out. There's another one happening right here. And in this case, we're revealing the pylon, and that all the zealots are zapping back in. Very cool. So these are the ones. Oh, this is kind of a random thing here, but this is from James Bond Skyfall, and this is the color script for the whole movie. So somebody took all the scenes in the movie and put them into a script like this, and essentially what happens is you can see how they were using the colors and how the colors kind of hop between one scene and the other and how consistent they are. And this will also change the emotion of your scene and of your movie. So you can see there you kind of go through chapters with color in this case. So that was just like a little Easter egg here. Magic the Gathering. So a couple of shots that I did here as a layout artist, and again using the composition, kind of the triangle. I think it should be a bit more like this, but passing through objects, making it feel dynamic, having his arm go away so we can focus on her. This one, everything is in reverse. That's why it was even more difficult to do the cameras. And just a slight little rotation around her, and then a push in and a zoom in to the hand that she was looking at. I also did the destruction here as an effects artist, and this guy as well. But yeah, just look at that render. My God, how it looks so pretty. The shot looks amazing. League of Legends, again, we were playing with the anime. I don't know why this is doing that. Like pushing in quite extremely, having things come into shot. You see how super dynamic, close to frame, pushing in and then stopping. Doing some very cool effects. That's, yeah, very anime like swooping past the flames and then abruptly stopping to visualize our kind of bad guys here. And then we do the rotation out through his eye. Amazing. Very dynamic. And then in terms of framing, again, you have swords kind of directing him to the center. Heroes of the Storm. Yeah, we did a little Zolly here in the beginning, just to make things look a bit uneasy. We did like a boom down. So that's what I'm saying, like create dynamic shots, like boom down, have the character come into frame, have another thing come swooping past the frame, panning with that thing, and then kind of, I wish we could push it even more here, like zoom in to this part even more or push in, but that's how we left it. This very cool kind of flowing with the effect, close to the ground, wide camera, and then zooming into her face. Here, starting on them as kind of a medium shot and then zooming out to revealing more of the environment, still on quite a long lens to be honest, but swooping past things and having things in the foreground will give you parallax and will make your scene even more dynamic. And this one I already showed you guys. This shot was very difficult to pull off. And then we go to speed lines. And once we are in speed lines, we can do whatever we want with the characters and just rotate around them and do all sorts of crazy things. It's like a cheat sheet once you go to speed lines. And then another cool, I'm just gonna show you this guy from Magic the Gathering. This shot, not this shot, but this whole sequence was very fun. So we introduce our main bad guy. And at this point, we almost forget that the cookies are here. We're just looking here specifically. And then she turns around, we rack focus to her and we're like, oh yeah, the cookies, like run, run. And then this shot really kind of frames him in between them, again, using them to disrupt the frame and having him as the bullseye. So you have nowhere else to look at. Also having them darker and him brighter will also direct the audience eye. And then because they're so small, everything else is big, and for them it feels like a battlefield on the table, even though they're just they're casualties, right? They're nobody knows that they're here, but they're kind of victims of this fight that is going on. And I just love how, they're struggling, but they're just being attacked by basically plates. Then we do a slam and like a push in here to her. And the push in is here to emphasize the reveal that she just saw an escape that might save them. And then we also do a push in here, and we are zooming out with them, well, zooming out, like pushing out and then pushing in here to reveal this kind of soup. But for them, it's essentially lava. This is on a wider lens to just emphasize that they're going to be consumed by this milk. And if you're on a longer lens like this, the milk will feel big and almost like that they're already in the milk. Just metaphorically, they are already trapped using a longer lens here. And then moving with the fluid with the milk here makes it feel like we're the predator. We're actually coming to get them. So that's kind of the logic behind these shots. Again, just cool wave of milk coming towards them on a long glance, and then they get consumed by the milk. So we're with this milk shot here, and I thought it would be cool to add this cookie that kind of directs our eye. It directs our eye and just helps with the reveal. We're kind of looking at the cookie, and the cookie swipes past us, and we reveal that they're kind of hanging here. And then another cool cookie, just for dynamic purposes. So yeah, these are some of the shots, and then the Rebelway cinematics that we did. This one, the chase, was very cool to work on. We did reference Star Trek for this quite a lot. And some shots are kind of direct copies in some ways. This one, for instance, and this one as well. But yeah, like I said, I just borrowed. I borrow the zoom in, let's say here, that is happening in the beginning. Obviously, we didn't have all the budgets of Star Trek, and their environments are a bit better than what we have. But we're gonna go for this one. We're gonna deconstruct all the cameras in Houdini later. So yeah, we did the zoom in, and then here. So this shot. So you can see all they do is a lot faster than what we were doing. In most cases, our cinematic trailer is a bit slower because we were trying to emphasize and just make the effects here look as good as possible, and not to worry about the animation and everything else. We're just using the environment and this kind of cinematic space as a playground to showcase our effects. So this one, for example, we're staying on this for quite long, just so we can showcase the effects because it is for a workshop. And then this whole the trailer for the rookies, so it's a FX competition, and we created this scene to give to the contestants so they can do the effects on. That's why there's no effects here, but they can still they use the scene to present their effects in the best way possible. So I was using God of War as a reference for this quite a lot. So I talked about Toy Story before in the previous video about how they play with different emotional styles, and you can see here they're very dark, super, like the depth of field is quite crazy, and they're just trying to emphasize how sad this whole moment is and how difficult it is for the characters to do the decisions that they are going to have to do. And it just makes it feel a lot darker. You know, it's very sad doing like a very slight push out or maybe zooming out. The depth of field is very big, kind of emphasizing the tears and the teardrops that the kind of the emotion that the character is feeling, and everything is kind of driving to the fullest in that kind of sense. And then they switch completely by going to this sequence. So they go from a very dark place to a very bright place, and it's just amazing how they play with different cinematography styles. And I mean, these transitions that are going through time here are just freaking amazing. I'm not gonna go through all of this. This is a very cool scene where, you know, Woody and his pals, well, in this case he and some of the other toys are kind of in the wardrobe here, and Woody's kind of looking out, and essentially what they were trying to do is put him in a prison. And I just love this kind of I love metaphors like that. Even though he's not in prison, it feels like he's in prison, and then they made him look through the blinds, and you know, it really feels like a prison here. This one, when they first come into the shop, obviously I don't want to spoil stuff, but yeah, definitely a spoiler. When they first come into the shop, you see how they're playing with how they present this character as somebody that has multiple faces and he's not to be trusted with. That's what they're trying to portray here, that he's somebody that they cannot trust and might become their enemy, even though at first glance he's not their enemy, but he might become one. So, you know, look at that reveal with just a slight kind of push to the left. So good. And this whole sequence, she's kind of revealing kind of her evil plan, and you see everything is quite dark. We're static, we are with them and kind of afraid for our lives. And you can see that in Woody as well. You know, he kind of feels like he's scared, and this guy's looking at him in a very creepy way. So the cinematography is then, in this case lighting and color, is also showcasing that emotion. And then once they start coming out of this kind of world with her and these creepy guys, it becomes bright again. And once we're back into the real world out of their kind of evil place, the cinematography changes and we're back into this bright place. So that's what I'm saying, how they're changing the cinematography styles to fit whatever they need. Here, when these two characters meet again from the beginning, you see we're back to that crazy bokeh, beautiful kind of soft image that emphasizes that they are happy to see each other, and they are potentially they have feelings for each other, and in this moment they are kind of reunited together. You can see that. You know, he looks at her, and even though they're toys and they kind of have to play that here, we have this kind of reveal happening. See how they not forced, it feels very natural, but kind of the kid extended his arm, and maybe the camera just like slightly pushed to the right, and we have this beautiful reveal happening with amazing depth of field, and everything is happy and nice, and you know, so lovely. Anyway, yeah. And then this is an interesting one. Everything is static. All the shots are static because they're trying to emphasize the tension. And see, these two characters they want to go at each other. Like essentially it's almost like a fight. and they cannot do anything because that human is there. And to emphasize the tension, everything is static except for this little pan here. And I love how they use static shot with beautiful lighting and composition to, again, emphasize what's happening in the frame. So it's not all about, you know, smooth cams. Sometimes it's about having a very cool static cam. And another thing here that kind of relates to lighting a bit is, so this girl she's lost, and you know, she's in a dark kind of place, and she's lit properly for that kind of emotion. And when she finds the doll, she comes into light, and things are looking a bit better now when she gets the doll. So she's in a brighter spot now. And here she's even, you know, because she came into that light, she's a lot brighter. And then she goes and she gains the confidence, goes to the officer here, and then she comes into even more light. And now she has a nice little backlight happening here. And now, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. They're in a spotlight here because, you know, they are reunited with, she's not lost anymore. She's reunited with the parents. So you can really see that this is, you know, stage 3 of the lighting. And then here it was stage 2. That's not a 2. Stage 2. And then here in the beginning, stage 1. Okay, last couple of things. I'm quickly gonna go through them, not just so you can see what I'm talking about, but love this cinematic, especially this part in the beginning, how the hand comes into frame. This is from World of Warcraft. You know, just check them out on your own and kind of see what a super dynamic kind of entrance here. Almost kind of gets you, almost like a scary moment because it's so sudden, but very dynamic, coming close to the camera, revealing the character with the animation. And then here, this whole fight is very anime-like as well, especially the way they're jumping here. Static for emphasizing the joke that was happening there. But I love this, what happens here with the push in. So how the character moves to the right, and then the smoke comes in, and the little leaves and everything is just helping and ease the camera forward. And it's just, essentially, it's motivating the camera to push forward and reveal this giant, you know, world that's happening here. This one, I just wanted to showcase the aerial shot and the pan up, revealing the teleport that's happening here. And you can see the helicopter shot is quite, I wouldn't say, it's a bit shaky in this case. So I think that's something that a lot of people do wrong with helicopter shots. They make them too static, not static, but too perfect. They don't have any shake or motion to them. And you can see here, the camera is wobbling a bit to the left and right and then panning up. And you can see like there's a slight kind of shakiness to it. A very cool beginning to a cinematic. We start, we think it's a POV shot. And then she comes into frame again. You see there's a theme happening here that people, characters are coming into frame and leaving the frame in a very dynamic way. And then the turn. And we, in all of this, the camera also zoomed in, I'm pretty sure. This was like a 35. And then we went to like a 50 or like a 45 to reveal her face, and again showcasing her emotion with the explosion in the background. Again, this is something that, you know, is connected with how the director and the cinematographer works together. Yeah, another cool one. Just check it out. So just another shout out to Studio Binder. They have a lot of cool videos here. That's the every camera movement that we checked in the beginning, but they have a lot of other videos like color theory and lenses and all the other stuff like you see here. A lot of different videos, very lovely, and I would encourage you guys to check them out. And then if you want more kind of reading on camera motion and composition, I would encourage you guys to check the Master Shots collection. They have 3 books, volume 1, 2, and 3. Filmmaker's Eye, Shot by Shot. I'm not the biggest fan of this one, but it does go into detail about every shot and different blocking compositions that you can have with actors. The visual story is cool, and then the cinematic storytelling. So in each of these books, they go through composition, motivation, the composition, and how everything is being motivated by the emotion of the story, and then you know, metaphorically and then practically how you do that camera move. And yeah, that's it for this video. I know this was a bit long going through all of this, but just so you guys can see a lot of different, we went through a lot of different kinds of cinematography camera motion. You kind of saw how I go through them and how I analyze them, what is my thinking when I, you know, start looking at different shots. And I hope this gave you an idea of, you know, how many things are possible and how complex camera motion can get if you just by itself, and then when you start combining it with different elements like color and light and blocking and music and, man, editing, just becomes a huge beautiful symphony that we call, you know, filmmaking. And yeah, I'm gonna leave this here. In the next few videos, we're gonna be going practically through Houdini cameras and seeing how they're being animated and done, like I said, in Houdini specifically, but you can take that idea and translate it to any other program or CG software. And all right, see you guys in the next video.